Yeah, we just before we start the panel, I just really want to introduce our coolest speakers here. First of all, I'm Bora. I'm the moderator for this panel today. Really honored. I'm the head of BD at Skip Protocol. Skip's building the sovereign tools for the sovereign communities. We built, the cross-chain routers like, Skip Go, or like the on-chain oracles like Skip Connect. So if you guys have any demands on this, let's chat after.
GM, everybody. My name is Michael Kay. I'm the Senior Business Development Manager at ConsenSys and MetaMask.
My name is David Phelps. I'm co-founder of a project called JokeRace, where we enable on-chain contests, anything from hackathons and grants to reality TV shows on over 100 chains.
Nice. What's up, everybody? I'm Francesco. For the people that doesn't know me, I'm part of the DevRel team at MetaMask, and yeah, for the past decade, I've been running like developer communities and cool like software stack for builders around the ecosystem. And excited about to speak UX and UI.
Yeah, so let's begin with our first question. Since we have the big OGs here, I just wanna go through there are like this. Since we're talking about this UX in crypto, I just think one of the biggest bottleneck in crypto is we all know that it's like one of it is like the bad mnemonic custody management. I'm just curious to each one of you, like how do you imagine this playing out, and like what are other bottlenecks or like that your project's trying to solve?
I can definitely start. How many developers do we have in the room? So I can just fine tune the answers. Okay. So no developers. Okay, cool. So I believe in customized journey. So one thing that we're seeing a lot around the MetaMask tech stack, but also like the kind of like the journey that we see around users. People want to have customized experiences, right? You will have always like the DeFi heavy users, the security heavy users, and I don't know if you heard about snaps. How many people heard about MetaMask snaps? Yeah, a couple of people. Long story short is that with snaps you can extend the functionality of what the wallet does today. So think about interoperability like snaps. So what you can add non-EVM compatible tech stack. For example, you want to interact with BTC natively, you want to interact with Solana, boom, add your Solana snap, add your BTC snap, and the same concept is going in different kind of direction. So where the market is going is going in much more customized wallet. People maybe don't want to dealing with any secret query phrase. They want to just have the full chain abstraction. Game developer want to start to push for payment sponsor transaction for their users. So you will have different customized journey, pre-configured wallets, so that people don't know what they are transacting on which level. And that's it. So I think that's one part of the answer. The second part is that not just around functionality, but also around UI extensibility. People want to have kind of like modular system where they can have pre-installed like UI components, and that's one big thing that we're working on the extensibility of the wallet.
I think one of the big dangers in this space right now is that we're building for ourselves. And so a lot of times when we think about wallets, we're thinking about how we can improve them for ourselves. And so I think about like the state of embedded wallets today. Like embedded wallets are like a nice improvement over what we've had before for apps. Like you no longer have to switch back and forth with another wallet when you're on mobile. And that's a cool improvement for people in this space. But if you think about people outside the space and like how do we actually get people onboarded to using crypto apps, for example, like if they currently to get access to that embedded wallet would need to still go to a centralized exchange, put money in, probably wait 7 days to withdraw, then go create a separate wallet that they then have to fund, like a MetaMask or a Rabby, and then from there try to put the money in, and so it's a nightmare. Like if any user wants to use an app right now, they have to wait 10 days to use it. That will only work in like really major financial life choice kind of decision making apps. Like for mortgage, you might wait 10 days and do that, but like for a social app, you're dead in water. And so I think like a lot of the job right now with apps is not just embedded wallets. It's really thinking through this problem of onboarding, and like I think like our North Star is, 6 months from now we want people to be able to open this on their phone, double tap Apple Pay, or like input a credit card, and they'll have $5, and then every time they tap, they're transacting. And it's really easy to miss that the real magic of crypto when it works is that first of all, people won't even know they're using crypto. But second of all, the UX is actually way better than anything you've ever seen in Web 2 because now every time you tap, you're transacting. And that never could happen in Web 2. You would have to approve every single one of those payments. And so it's like, we're in this stage where everyone thinks that crypto UX is so much worse than anything that's come before, and that's true. But actually, it could be way better than anything that's come before, and we just have to, it's the onboarding piece, I think, that is really crucial for wallets.
Yeah, definitely some great points. And also, as Francesco mentioned, we have to give users an experience out of the box that's as simple as possible, and then they can discover the rest themselves. If we are getting in the way of showing them notifications and not really abstracting away all of that functionality, that impacts the user experience. So as you mentioned, if we get it down to 1 to 2 clicks, as opposed to an entire process of feeling like a lesson, as opposed to jumping into Web3, then we can have a much higher conversion rate and a much happier user base.
I just want to say, yesterday I tried to buy the DEFCON ticket. So I didn't want just to buy on mainnet. Was on a layer 2 on Linea.
Yeah.
Was so hard because was on the integration was actually not working, and the DEFCON team was like, oh, we're all using like fully open source stack, right? It's always like tricky because I really wanted to pay for this DEFCON ticket for on a layer 2 on chain, but still the experience. I think a lot of people are just going credit card, boom.
Yeah, if we get it to the point of being as easy to use as an ATM machine, which is point and click, and you know exactly what's going to happen, that could definitely change that narrative.
I mean, onboarding right now is honestly, I was tweeting about this last week. Like, you know, I'll call out names because we're in a smaller circle. I didn't call out names on Twitter, but I'm going to do it today.
Yes.
Zora and PoApp, beautifully designed apps, like beautiful animations with cute characters, and they run across your screen, and everything is like in this. I mean, I've taken inspiration as a designer from these sites. Like, they're gorgeous to look at. But if you want to go use this, I was trying to make an NFT, and you have to go put in your email address, then put in your wallet. Now, that's a security concern. Like, to have an email address connected to a wallet is like bridging two worlds that you don't necessarily want bridged. You then have to put in like KYC info, addresses, you have to like say what you're using it for, and then when you finally show up into the app after putting all of this registration info, you learn that you can't actually create an NFT there. That's not actually what they do. You can only create collections, or you can only create things that are tied to a specific place. So the use case that I wanted, I went through this whole entire onboarding, gave up a bunch of personal info that I was not comfortable giving up, only to find that it didn't work. I can't tell you how much I hate those apps as a user after doing that, because it's so painful. And it's like, we've made UI improvements for everything to look great, but we haven't made UX improvements to make it really easy for people to use. And I think your point that, you should be able to log on, start using it, and then if we need to collect more info, like you can collect more info at that point because people are already, on board. The whole point of crypto is like you just connect a wallet and you're good to go. This should not be hard.
Even if you think about ZK proofs and general attestation use case, they're amazing. But try to get attestation in the right way. First, it's not that easy because there are 1,000 different providers. The journey is very difficult to get. I mean, I understand this is the right way, but it's also there is a trade-off there, right?
Yeah. Well, since we're just talking about all these, onboarding the new users, right? Then I'm just curious because when you kind of onboard the people to crypto, some people, or kind of fall into the scams, like their wallet is getting ruined, drained, or they also, even though they get onboarded properly, a lot of people are kind of airdrop farmers, or they just don't really understand the ethos of crypto. I just think. So, do you guys have any tips of how you guys just tell people how to onboard it?
I think a lot of people don't get onboarded into crypto in the right manner. They're told by a friend or a family member, hey, we're going to 1000x, we're going to make a lot of money. But that's not what crypto is about. Crypto is about blockchain, decentralization, and really understanding what this technology can do for the future of business, asset management, and verification. So when I onboard users into crypto, I don't even talk about crypto. I don't mention the word blockchain. I don't say anything about buzzwords in the space. I actually talk to them about what they're already familiar with, such as paying a bill at a restaurant or going to a doctor or a dentist, and how decentralization can remove all those middlemen. For example, you go to the restaurant, it's time to pay your bill. You have a debit card, a credit card, made by Visa, MasterCard. You're going to be paying from your bank, Chase, Bank of America. There's a point of sale system that they're swiping the card through. Then there's a merchant service provider that sells them the point of sale system. Then there's the ramp, which takes 3 to 5 days to process. Then there's the business's bank, which might be different than your bank. So this is what people are familiar with. And if you talk to them about what they've been using every single day, they might start to question, what is the other option? So when you talk about crypto to them, you mention same bill, same restaurant, you are your own bank, the business is its own bank, the money goes from you to the business within seconds. We're removing credit card companies. We are removing banks. We are removing merchant service providers. We're removing all the middlemen in between that transaction. So that's how I tap into users that are not familiar with crypto. Because when I mention it in this manner, they say, I've never been explained crypto like that. And then they go down the rabbit hole.
I would say, I feel like broadly there's probably 3 types of users for crypto. One are whales, right? And they want exposure, in DeFi, and they're willing to do really advanced kind of trading. And this is like future finance people. And so they're very comfortable, right? Like they're, going with the most advanced functionality you can get. And we have built a really successful market for those characters. The second one I would say is the opposite end. It's actually the poorest people in the world who are living in countries where they don't have stable currency at all, and they need to have some sort of stability. And so being able to get stable coins or get access to something that they can actually protect their wealth is massively important, because the transaction rails just aren't there, right? And we don't talk about this as much, but Cello, I think, has done like kind of an incredible job, onboarding a lot of people in Africa with a stable coin, for example. And for both of those user bases, they're very opposite in many ways, but like it's really important to appeal to what crypto is and how it works. I think there's a third user base that no one really has cared about, which is retail consumers. And retail consumers, it's a little trickier because they need a really smooth experience and they don't need to know that it's crypto. And for that reason, I think we just haven't gone after them. Like as a space, we've really ignored this segment because the technology, it's really hard for all the reasons we've just been talking about to build UX that can actually onboard those kinds of users. But it's also why you now hear everyone complaining there's no apps, because no one's gone after that segment, and it's a hard segment. Like optics are bad. A lot of those people really hate crypto. And so I think that's the segment I'm really working towards, and it's the hardest one, but I think in some ways the most promising, in certain ways. And I think the key there is like they should just be able to open an app, put money in, and then they don't know what chain they're on. They don't even know it's crypto. They're just tapping, and it's deducting the balance in their app. And it probably won't even occur to them that that wasn't something that was ever possible before. There never was an app where you could have a balance going up and down before, right? I mean, Roblox is come the closest probably, and is paying massive fees for it to the Apple Store. But like just that kind of functionality that will be so simple for them, I really think it requires abstracting away crypto, which is very different from the first two audiences where it's really about presenting why crypto matters to them. And so when you start to differentiate a little bit, we actually need different UX for all three of these different users as well. I think it needs to look quite different for each of them too.
Yeah, really quickly on that, I think a lot better way to pull this off, especially for brand new users, give the users the option, hey, I'm new to this, or I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Then you can streamline if the user is actually caring about the advanced feature set, or if they are privacy preserving and they want to understand what's going on in the background, or the user wants to jump in 1 to 2 clicks later, everything else is abstracted away. Security, switching chains, wondering about the security of their seed phrases or private keys. If we get rid of all those layers and increase that user experience, what's the difference between what we're transacting with now and using it on chain?
My North Star as a designer is Figma itself. Like Figma is this incredible tool because the most advanced designers in the world will get the most advanced functionality from it, but anybody can open it up and it looks like it only has 4 buttons and they can just start creating. And so it captures both sides, but it does something even more than that, which is it takes people who are newbies and have never designed before, and then as they start to play around with it, they start to discover more advanced functionality, and it actually leads them on a journey to educate its own users into becoming advanced professionals. There's almost no other app that's done that, and like a wallet that could do that, that could take people who are new, but then have all the advanced features in the background as they start to discover those and play with them. That would be sick. That'd be really cool.
Most users, they don't care about the advanced features.
Yeah, they don't need them.
they don't need them. And I'm sure Francesco has a comment on this.
No, yeah, it's true. And you see already kind of like specific use case flourishing. Like, for example, game users that I just need auto sign-ins or batch transaction. They don't go to you and asking, hey, I need batch transaction now. Like, those are kind of like natural instinct based on like the usability of the game. Like no one want to kind of like, sign in every like single like 2 minutes transaction for any specific like on-chain. And that's also the question, do we need everything on-chain? Can we actually have like, a trade-offs? Because we need to kind of conscious also on the scalability and the security issue that we're bringing on-chain too.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is not worrying about switching chains, changing RPCs, wondering what network you're about to interact with. We actually just released a small update to MetaMask that if you have multiple dApps open that are all on different chains, different networks, it will automatically switch for you. You no longer have to hit a drop-down menu and change your mainnet or whatever you're interacting with, which is amazing for user experience. You're getting rid of
So helpful.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
It's been really useful for me.
Yeah, and if we keep on looking at it at that point, how do we make the UI, UX to the point where the user is not even thinking, and if they do mess up, they can't mess up, we guardrail it, then we're going to get in a much better position if you're onboarding someone that has no idea what they're about to sign, no idea what they're about to interact with.
Yeah, one angle on the linear side that's basically the ZK EVM from ConsenSys. Long story short is that we are all about road to kind of decentralization, decentralized sequencer, like so very specific things. But at the end, if you think about like users are always asking like low latency, quick onboarding, and we are kind of like have always the same challenges, right? Like okay, how to educate people around bridging. Actually, is the experience like good enough? And I still think like even going to a layer 2, the experience for a normal person is not there yet. But I think it's also a journey. That's why like we're not just providing kind of infrastructure for the ecosystem, but also education is so important. Education on different levels. And it's funny because you kind of like ask about also onboarding because of hacking, but last year, there was I think it was ChainSafe, they came out with the report that something like 70% of the hacking today are because people are sharing their secret query phrase through socials. And I'm like, we are doing like so much effort, even around snaps, about giving more users like data points about which contract they're interacting with. But at the end, the majority of hacking, people are doing social engineering stuff. Like so, and we don't even have like a support. So every time, please don't text and ask for like
Yeah. This is the concept of which I think is one of the most important things. Web 2 before you Web 3. I'm going to say that again. Web 2 before you Web 3. How can we expect the masses to come into crypto if they don't even understand the importance of using an antivirus or managing their passwords or their credentials? This is a setup for failure. We don't even talk about security when we're onboarding new people into the space, and it's an afterthought. This is not how we onboard. This is not what Web3 is about. Most of the people in this room probably have been scammed at some point or know someone that has been scammed. If we talk about what is the environment within a few years from now, scamming is not going to be part of the onboarding process. It's not going to be part of the journey in Web3. So if we take a look at how can we make it so if we're onboarding someone, do we have to talk about security first? Do we have to explain to them the importance of not giving away their seed phrase and their private keys? They're going to do it anyway. They're not going to think about it. They're not going to care about it until it's too late. Then they'll start to employ security into what they're doing. But if we abstract those security layers away, which is what we're also trying to do with WalletGuard. WalletGuard was just acquired by ConsenSys a month and a half ago, and we're working on bringing our security engine directly into MetaMask as well as mobile MetaMask so that we can drastically reduce fund loss incidents so that we can warn users exactly what's going to happen before it happens. Then we're kind of changing that narrative. People will not be scammed when they're coming in to self-custody.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to like again speak about products, but the delegation use case is huge, right? But in the same time, we're building delegation system, but we also need to be aware that there will be always kind of like a light account, a main account that is still owning something, right? So you're shifting risk in a way, but in the ecosystem, you still need to have kind of stakeholder that are maintaining and kind of like maintaining security around the space, right? Same with like, you can build now with the delegation toolkit like specific use case, but the delegator will always be the one in charge of actually like owning and owning kind of like security-wise. Because at the end, we are building also self-custodial like kind of like an ecosystem, but in the same time, we need to be aware there are target users, as you said at the beginning. They just care. My brother is, I don't know, 10 years UBS. Like he said, oh, I'm happy to give like 10% to UBS to just be free in my
manage
streets.
it for me, right?
Yeah, just you know, I think you still want to get these people in kind of your ecosystem, but you need to be aware they have different needs. Like that's why in different snaps you see people that don't care about the extra security snaps being installed. They just care about the non-EVM compatible snap because they just want to get into the Solana mainnet to get the airdrop. So they just install the Solana snap for that.
And that's why giving them a default experience where they have no choice but to be safe is the ultimate win.
Since we just talked about the airdrops farmer, I guess like David would have a really great insight on this. Like, you know, but honestly, like it's great, like, right? Like, you know, abstracting the wallets and like the UX getting better, being secure, of course, like the future is amazing. But like, let's just kind of come back to our present and like see what are the status quo here. Like, so do you guys have like any takes, especially like I want to hear it from David. Like you guys, you know, JokeRace will meet like tons of roll-ups. There are a lot of L2s that are like, and the dApps and the ecosystem that are built for like the airdrop farmers basically. So like, do you guys have any spicy takes before we kind of wrap up?
Yeah, I realized I gave 3 groups before. I should have added scammers as a 4th. You know, scammers is really the people who've made a lot of money from crypto so far. You know, yeah, and I'm gonna go out there and say, look, like a lot of airdrop farmers are people who just need money, and it's kind of cool in some ways that we've like created these Ponzi's that can benefit people who need money around the world. But like it is a Ponzi at the end of the day when you're just minting money out of thin air in the hopes that user traction will, from people taking your money and dumping it, will then lead to you getting a centralized listing, you know, that a centralized exchange listing that then will pump the token price. And that Ponzi has failed. Like I would say, like it's been really interesting from my perspective as a builder. Because what we do with contests is like it lets you track, incentivize people based on the value that they provide. You know, if you do like a hackathon with us, you know, then you are tracking how many votes all of the devs have gotten on chain in a way that they are building an on-chain resume, and you can have rewards go to them proportionate to the votes that they've gotten, and they can get credentials for that, and they get future airdrops for that. But that's just based on the actual value that they've provided, right? You can't just go in and bot that or come up with, you know, random projects or, you know, just fulfill a meaningless quest in order to get that. And so like it's the whole narrative has really changed in the past couple of months because all of these projects that have chased airdrops and airdrop farmers are getting what was coming to them, which frankly is, and airdrop farmers are going to do what they're there to do, which is to take the token and dump it on you. Like that's literally why they came in the space in the first place. And so, you know, when you're chasing airdrop farmers to try to, you know, juice your numbers, you're going after the most extractive actors you can at the expense of going after really valuable ones who actually could be there to build your project and build something of utility and use. And I think there's a panic right now. Like there's very, very deep panic among a lot of L2s because they're really seeing that like the, you know, chasing airdrops kind of like meme coins, like it works for 2 to 3 months. And then it destroys your project and your ghost chain and no one respects you. And, you know, being differentiated is the name of the game right now with all the, you know, so many L2s out there. Look, it's great for us. It's nice that we're having all these conversations. People actually want real users and to actually find out who those users are and incentivize real users. But it's a bit shocking that it's taken this long to get to that point. 2021 happened 3 years ago. This whole space died 3 years ago. And the fact that we haven't gone after real users because we thought it was a better idea to get bots since then is shameful.
I agree. One thing is I want to say we need more consumer-facing product because that's opening our eyes. And second thing is that incentives need to change. I think it's definitely a good way to start to provide retroactive funding. Because why? Like, you know, it's not the best way, but it's a really good way because people that are actually like building at the beginning they don't expect anything. So the way that you're doing retroactive funding is also like you are actually rewarding true builders that wanted to stay at least 3 months plus in your ecosystem.
Totally.
Yeah, I think before we got acquired by ConsenSys, you know, one of the main questions that we would constantly be asked by VCs and during our seed rounds is, when are you releasing a token? And we didn't believe in releasing a token because there was no point to it. A lot of the charts look exactly the same, and to your point, there's a lot of farmers that make the entire playing field unlevel. So what we believe is in building a true solution, and that's exactly what we did by creating a security tool that had saved users over $60 million from scammers in just 1 year alone. And we could talk about security all day, but we only got to about 150,000 users. So when ConsenSys and MetaMask came to us and said, we want to take your technology and put it directly into our wallet, it was a no-brainer. Instead of talking from the mountaintops all day long, we are now bringing a security layer to 30 million monthly active users, which is game-changing. And token had nothing to do with it. We weren't talking about a token. We weren't trying to give people free money, because that's how people look at it. It's free money. It's not anything to do with the product itself.
And it's not free, it destroys you.
It definitely does.
But that's why also the purest way to actually get to those incentivized model is through builders. Like at the end, people always kind of say we need to onboard more the next billion users.
Give me real value. Give me something of product, right?
And the reality is also you cannot shield builders, you cannot shield developers. Like the tech stack kind of appetite is because it's useful. So you need
Correct.
to show the ecosystem that you're building useful stack, and then people will kind of
Then
follow.
they might care. Then they might care about it.
Yeah. But we need to still have more UX hackathons.
1,000%.
Yeah, so do we have some time for the questions? No? Okay. I just want, before we just wrap up, I just want to hear from you, just one of you, just one sentence, a hot take, or any spicy takes at crypto, so that when the audience we end up our panel, they can just go to your spicy takes and kind of have a conversation about it.
All the reasons that people hate crypto outside of crypto, they are correct about.
Okay.
Bam. Very nice. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.